I'm in Walworth County. There's a pause.
She giggled.
And she said, Walworth County. Where is Walworth County?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
I mean, you can watch it. You can hear it. You know, and my face just, you know. Really? Where's Walworth County?
Look on a map.
It's in Wisconsin.
It's in Wisconsin.
You know, and to be fair, you know, I don't know who it was that answered the phone. But you know, in my estimation, if there is ever an entity that should be run like a business, it's the Department of Commerce. You know, and if anybody in my business answered the phone in such a manner, they wouldn't last very long. We have to be selling ourselves. You know, with ABC, they're any salesmen. You know, always be closing, always be closing. I think that was Gordon Gekko, wasn't it? But always be closing. And the state just, I don't think, and honestly, and maybe I could get into some troubled waters here, but I think it's almost, you know, bureaucracies have that innate, I mean, they just, it's their, they grow. I mean, they just, it does this, it's by their very nature, right? When you get lifelong bureaucrats, and I've seen it in business, I've seen it in the military, unfortunately, but you know, there's a huge difference between, you know, delegating authority and abdicating responsibility, right? You can delegate authority down to individuals and say, you know, I'm still responsible for this, whether it succeeds or fails. Well, succeeds probably not the right thing, but it's still on my shoulders. But I'm giving you the authority to do this. But bureaucrats tend to love to abdicate that responsibility. You know, when that occurs, they create another. Let's create another committee or another organization, and they lead by, you know, by committee. And so I think that business sense in Madison, that strive to do more with less, doesn't exist. But at the, you know, I think that the biggest problem that we have, the heart of it, is we don't elect the right people. We just don't elect the right people. You know, I think that, and leadership is a nonpartisan piece, but you know, I put two images in your head. You know, we all remember Rudy Giuliani, September 11th, right? You know, regardless of what you think of his politics, you know, I'll never forget seeing Rudy Giuliani covered in that building dust, walking through the streets with his firemen and his team of individuals. You know, he was seen. He was a leader, right? I mean, he was in the streets. He was in the thick of it. He was leading. And people they saw, hey, that's our mayor. You know, and it did. It gave us lift. Heck, it gave me a lift, and I was in Hawaii, I think, at the time. But it gave me a lift to see that. You know, that's leadership. And now we have Obama, you know, and we're day, whatever, 50 of this oil crisis. You know, it just, and you see how he responded to it.
Yep.
You know, in my belief, the leader should have been out there the first day and said, hey, all hands on deck. Time for recriminations will come later. Let's get this fixed. You know, stop. Let's not start pointing fingers. That didn't occur. I mean, when he finally showed himself, he started, you know, throwing daggers at the GOP because it was something that Bush did. I mean, it's just, you know, what I'm saying is, it's you get what you vote for, right? And we start electing bureaucrats into positions of executive, you know, into executive positions, and then when they can't lead and they can't execute, we're surprised. And I think that's the time for that is just, it's done. And you know, 25 years in a legislative body does not a leader make. You know, I mean, we had our own in Delaware. You know, I interned for the guy when I was in college. I mean, we basically had to make sure that he was awake after 3 o'clock or that the door was closed. But you know, Joe Biden, you know, guy's been a senator since he was 29 years old.
Yeah.
You know, it's sometimes we get it backwards. You know, let's start putting square pegs in square holes. Let's start putting leaders in leadership positions. And you know, the leaders of the next governor and lieutenant governor hopefully are going to have to deal with the crisis of now. But like I said before, I think that it's you know, you're getting what my wife gets all the time. She tells me to shut up, but I'm depressing. But I mean, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. I really do.
We're expecting.
Well, you know, and honestly, I say that everywhere, but this group, yeah, I'm sure you do get it. We haven't even started talking about counterterrorism and Department of Homeland Security, and I mean, you know, any of that. But, you know.
I want to go back to
Yes,
the states and the bureaucracy. I mean, I've seen it because I've been a state employee for many years. represented by a union, but I always took my job as professionalism and never paid one dime to a union through 35 years. Somehow I dodged the bullet. But anyways, I see it at the other end of it. I see the worker bees. I said, because I was one of those worker bees. The problem is we wanted answers. We wanted to be able to do this or that or whatever to satisfy our community, taxpayers, whoever it may be.
Sure.
The services. But you always have that upper layer of approval process. You got to go through your supervisor, who has to go to their supervisor, who has to go through their division administrator, up to the administrator, and it's like, just give me an answer, you know. And I just see so many layers in there. The people that are actually doing the customer service to the general public, they are working hard, such as even the DMV, you know, they've got, if you ever figured out what they all have to know, it's unbelievable. Everything they have to know about trucks.
I always am like 2 inches over that yellow line, and I get yelled at and like.
Yeah,
squeezed in that line.
but I'm just saying that, you know, they supposedly do push customer service. Sometimes it doesn't appear so.
Sure.
You know, but they're under the gun. They're under the gun with quotas, and a lot of different agencies, they have the quotas that they have to be met on certain things. So the worker bees, I don't have a problem with. You are going to find lazy ones, but you're also going to find lazy administrators or people you just can't get rid of, and they should be
Sure.
long gone.
No,
You know, and that's the
Sure.
part that's infuriating to me is the protection that the
Yeah.
state gives to a lot of employees when they aren't performing their job.
and in that environment, you're,
Even upper echelon.
in that
upper echelon.
environment, you tend to stifle
Yeah.
creativity.
Yeah.
You tend to stifle innovation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are real words and real necessities to drive a successful organization. But worst of all, in my opinion, is people become risk averse. They don't want to take a risk in trying something new or offering something different. And we're not going to get anywhere. I mean, we're gonna change the color of the car, we're gonna change the rims, we're gonna, you know, change the make of the tire, but we're not gonna make a better product.
So, Ben, how do you get from that bureaucracy-laden structure to something that's more streamlined, that allows exactly the kinds of things that you're talking about?
You know, there was an article, and I think it's going to come down to figuring out how, and not necessarily doing it in a fiscal sense. But there was a great article, and I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I could be wrong. And it might have been Peggy Noonan. Again, I could be wrong. But it was the point of the article was, how do you incentivize bureaucrats? How do you incentivize everybody from those worker bees to the middle management? And it was an interesting article because it talked about the you know, back in basically the privateering days. You know, even the British Navy. I mean, they would still get, you know, I think the officers, whenever they took down a ship, you know, the officers got a third, the men broke up a third. You know, I mean, they were financially incentivized to pull on that oar just a little bit harder and grab that ship. That can be done within the bureaucracy. You've got to get it. To me, you want to create an environment of competition, right? You want to create an environment, and honestly, hey, look, you know, let's stay on commerce for a second. You know, you generate, you know, 25 leads, you know, for companies and get us through the second rung of discussions with a company. You know, we're going to give you, you know, 5 days paid leave. You know, I'm just making that up. You know.
But I don't think you can do that with state government because,
right.
first of all, you got the union, and that really restricts people from excelling. It's like, why should I work extra hard when the guy next to me is doing squat?
Right.
But I can't get any bonuses or anything like that. That's you, Tom. You know, and that's unfortunate because you do have that union, but then you also have the restrictions on state government being able to even just turn around and give bonuses such
Sure.
as that. And that's something that
And so
we accept.
maybe
as
it's a you know, maybe again, it's a private entity that's generated to assist in the incentivization of public, I mean, I'm just.
Right, I understand.
So,
No,
so would
that's
that
fine.
mean, for example, cutting departments and then creating something along the lines of what they did in Indiana?
Yes, you know,
Uh-huh.
yes, absolutely. I mean, cut, streamline. But then you hit, you know, you're gonna run into the union animal
Right.
at every
Right.
single turn.